You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast following a, disheartening 4-1 loss on Long Island for your Ottawa Senators, who are playing their 9th game in the last 14 days, and we've been here every step of the way on the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan. With me, recurring guest on the Postcast at Lalim's Martian, and we have a very special guest as well. The anonymous, the great, the legend himself. It's Sens Chirp from your local establishment. Chirp, let's start with you, buddy. How'd you think that game went tonight?
Fellas, I told you it was going to be loud in here. I'm one of like 7 people in the Senate Tavern. New location on Wellington, by the way. But I'm here, and they got the music blaring, and I saw you guys send out the link to the Postcast, and I was like, I got some things to say about this game. And I was either going to yell them at my family members or like my friends. And I was like, no, I'll call into the show and I'll let you guys know what I think. But I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Before we get to those, because, man, talk about a tease right there in the industry. Martian, how'd you think that one went? Because, I mean, they score first, you're feeling good, and then things just fell apart in a hurry.
Yeah, Ross, your key to the game was looking good there early, I thought.
I know.
Not the greatest session from the Senators tonight. Obviously, get off to a good start with the 1-0 lead, but you could tell that, being on a back-to-back night and, the depleted lineup that they're putting out there the last few games, starting to show. So, obviously, it wasn't the greatest effort and not the best game to be watching as a fan. So I guess the good times have kind of come to an end as far as this depleted lineup bearing fruit for us here.
Yeah, no question. So the Senators, they score first. Chirp, I want to get right to what's on your mind first, and we'll go from there. That's how we're kicking this off.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, first of all, Martian, I wouldn't say the good times have come to an end, right? I mean, we hit a little bit of a roadblock here. We got a week into the All-Star game. We'll get regrouped. I mean, I know you're like me. You probably hammered the Sens money line tonight. You're feeling the pain there a little bit.
When you're doing that, yeah.
3-1. I mean, you gotta bet that, guys. I'm just gonna cut to the chase here because like they didn't play a good game, right? Like they didn't play well tonight. But that penalty at the end of the game, the double tripping penalty. Have you ever seen anything like that in all the time you've been watching NHL hockey? Is that possible? Does the second penalty exist when the first one is tripping? How does that happen? What do you guys think of that?
Honestly, Chirp, I think the fact that the ref saw that the reason Bishop tripped whatever the Islander was after was because he was falling from a trip by himself. He's like, oh, I guess I have to call the other one now. But you're right. That was complete bogus. I saw you, me, and JR all had the same tweet at the same time, just be like, what the hell is this? Absolute Bush League stuff right there. And that's at a time where it was still 3-1 at that point, right? They make that initial call. You get on the power play, Marsh, and you can get right out there after that.
Yeah, and Ross, that's not the first bad call of the night either, right? Like that
the Josh Brown one.
The call on Josh Brown, like a guy like Josh Brown,
God.
you can't afford to be taking. You can't. The refs are taking liberties on this guy now. He's, he takes his fair share of flack from the fans. Even the fans aren't going to blame him for this one because that was just a really poorly called play. It's like it was the beginning of the game and the ref wasn't even paying attention or something. He just saw the player go down. He goes, oh, slow Josh Brown, couldn't slow him down, and he dragged him down. So I don't know what happened there. It wasn't a great night for the referees either. They should be definitely taking a downgrade on the old Senators stocks tonight.
No question. Hey, Chirp, another one there. Cole pointing out. How about that Chera stucker on Brady as Tkachuk goes over the blue line?
Here's the thing about that play. And when it happened, here's what I said. There's no other player that gets away with that punch on any other player than Chara on Tkachuk, right? Like if Chara punches Formanton like that, they call it immediately. If Tkachuk punches an Islanders defenseman like that, they call it immediately. But because it was those two guys, they're like, oh, let the boys play. But
yeah, that was two big dogs.
That was a stiff jab, right? Like that landed flush, and they just let it go. I mean, there were a lot of calls tonight. I mean, a lot of calls.
There were no calls tonight.
There were bad calls both ways. But that I got to go back to that tripping penalty because that is like the fundamentals of the sport, right? Like there's something I'm not getting about what the rules are, because you cannot trip one guy and then that guy gets a tripping penalty, right?
No,
like it
that's
should
not
be
possible.
Immediately the whistle blows and that's the end of the play. There's something I'm missing there about the rules.
100%. As soon as the puck changes hands, we all know this. It should
Right?
be the whistle should blow, and that should be the end.
Makes
You
no
can't-
You
sense.
cannot
get a tripping penalty
use
after
two
the play.
tripping penalties.
Yeah. Here's what we were thinking. And there's a guy chirping at me on Twitter about it. I'm like, okay, I'll hear you out. He's like, like the continuation of play. So if someone gets a roughing penalty after a penalty in the flow of play, they'll call that. Different when it's tripping, right? Like the play doesn't exist. Like the play ends as soon as the first tripping penalty happens. So you can't. It's like if they called him for shooting the puck out of play after a tripping penalty. It's like, no, the play was over. Like as soon as he touches it, it's over. I mean, you can tell by the way I'm talking, I bet Sens money line tonight. Like the game was over at that point. But I think we're going to we'll get Tim Peel to weigh in on this one, because I don't understand what the rule is. Because it seems like
Tim Peel might be the wrong guy to ask, because that was a little game management right there if I've ever seen
That's
somewhere.
exactly
he realizes
what
he missed the first one, and then
it's
the
like,
second one happened.
let's get the fuck out of here.
I would love to
hear.
I would love to hear that explanation from an actual NHL referee, and he was trying to explain that was not the most fucked up bullshit.
Here's what it is, fellas, and like sorry, I don't know if this is a PG live cast you got going here.
There's no PG left.
Here's the thing. Like this, I've said this a few times, but this is why officials after the game should do something with the media and just explain like the course of the game, how they made calls, what they saw, what they didn't see, and just make the referees available to media after the game to just explain it, right? Like, that's why guys like us are live streaming on whatever the hell this is, because we don't understand the rules. Like what is the actual rule in that situation?
I think it's safe to say that was just a missed call. Like that was just a messed up call. They screwed that up. I think if you were to talk to the refs about that after the fact, I think they would fully admit that like calling two tripping penalties the way they did kind of there was, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, no question. I agree with you, Martian. And another thing, this game wasn't won or lost on that call, as Chirp was saying as well. This was more so just a frustrating night, I think, to be an Ottawa Senators fan when you look at it up and down from really when they gave up the power play goal with less than 2 minutes left in the first period. You're not really feeling good about it at that point, because you've had the lead for most of the first period. This is kind of a scheduled loss. 9th game in 14 days, second half of back-to-back with travel, same as the first time they played the Islanders, with the second half back-to-back with travel. Again, some postponed games played in there with them having to go to New Jersey the night before. But Martian, what do you do in these situations? Is it just take a deep breath, crumple it up, and throw it in the trash? Or is there really some lessons to be learned from this game?
Well, I mean, this is one of those ones where no one's going to feel sorry for the Sens, right? Like the schedule's tight right now, for sure. They've played however many games in a short period of time here, but it's not going to get any easier. So if you want to make that your excuse, get used to making that your excuse, because that's what we're going to have to deal with basically for the rest of the season, playing 2.5 games a week at the minimum, right? So for the Senators, I mean, you want to crumple that one up and you don't want to, dwell on it too long, especially in the situation that they're in. But at the same time, you kind of have to look at it and see what you did wrong there and rebound for the next one here.
Yeah, talking about the next one, I want to get your take on this one, Chirp, and then we'll let you go as well. But I want to get your take on not only the first half of the season, because this was game number 40 for the Ottawa Senators. So you're looking at just about a half season. Do you have confidence here? What would be a successful second half of the year for you? Obviously, playoffs may be a bit of a stretch, but what are you hoping to see here in the second half?
Sorry, did you guys say playoffs isn't happening? I mean, that's news to me. I mean, no, I hear you. Like after every game they win, I check the standings again and it's still 20 points out of the playoffs. Like I get that. And what I was saying to my buddy here, we were watching the game, I was like, it's too bad the All-Star break's hitting now, because it feels like they're kind of hitting their stride a little bit, even with an undermanned lineup. But I think there's lots of reason to be excited, but I think what would be ideal down the stretch is like just to get everyone back, like for one game, even if it's in March against the Leafs or something, to just have that full lineup, like the group we're thinking of, like to go in there, to get Norris, Batherson healthy, to have like Jake Sanderson in the lineup, to have all of them at one time. I think that's the dream, right? I mean, like, I think that's what we're playing for, is like for one game to have the full lineup going.
Yeah, no, I hear you. A final one for me, Chirp, and this is a this or that type question. What's been the bigger revelation this year? Eric Brandstrom and the potential for him to be a long-term partner for Thomas Chabot? Or is it Tim Stützle finding his way to the center ice position and excelling there?
Oh boy. Don't make me choose between those two things, because like every game I watch those two guys going back and forth. It's definitely Tim Stützle being a legitimate number one center, though, right? Like every conversation I've had about this rebuild up until about 2 months ago was like, yeah, but like, who's the number one center here? And there was a long time where I was talking about Logan fucking Brown as our best.
Yeah,
like
as the best. That a fucking nightmare? That's a fucking nightmare, boy.
As the best possible option.
Is that not a fucking nightmare? Look at you. I can see
tough.
it. Look at you.
That's tough. That's tough.
But I mean, like that.
No,
that's a game.
right,
that's a game changer, right? It's like as soon as Tim Stützle becomes a legitimate number one center, and then all of a sudden, Josh Norris is your number two center. Shane Pinto's your number three. Like that's a game changer. Like that changes the whole dynamic of the lineup and the rebuild. And I mean, Eric Brandstrom he's a good little boy, and he seems like he's on the right track. But like Tim Stützle, whatever happened in that last game, he was possessed, right? Like that. Whatever, like that version of Tim Stützle is going to win us the Stanley Cup one day. So it's definitely Tim Stützle as number one center.
Holy Chirp. That's the way to go out, is Tim Stützle, number one center on a Stanley Cup winning team. You already follow at SensChirp. You know SensChirp.ca. Absolute legend. We appreciate you coming on, Chirp, and we will do it again soon. Martian, let's break down the rest of the game. Of course, that was unrated, uncut, but hey, that's a lot of fun. When a legend in the game wants to join you, you let him on. But we got a lot more, and I'm going to finish off today's show. A little thank you for everyone to come on. 9th game in 14 days. I'm going to drop. Pillsy would kill me for this because we don't tease interviews until they're done.
We don't talk about the refs either, and we don't swear. So we've already broken 2 rules. Why not 3?
I'm going to let you know who's coming on Locked On Senators this Friday. It's a really fun one. But let's get back to the game. Let's start from scratch. But Chirp was absolutely in one. What a guy.
I know. I love that. He came in on fire.
He came in on fire, and this guy's so positive. I love how positive he is. Playoffs? What do you mean? Playoffs are out of the picture?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? This is one of the things about SensChirp. This guy is undying optimism.
Yeah.
Right? Like this guy, you couldn't, like, they could move the team, and I think he would still be in denial about the Ottawa Senators never, like, ever. But that's neither here nor there. He
had a few Built Bars tonight, though.
Like I said, I kind of said in the chat, I was a little bit jealous he didn't invite me to go meet him and his buddy at the pub. It sounds like they're having a great time. We could have done the postcast together from there. So
no doubt. Not the first time we've had someone at a bar for the postcast. Wasn't it after the Forsberg shutout, the Brady Tkachuk hat trick that you were at, I believe, the Hart?
I was. Yep, that's right. I went straight from the game to the nearest establishment where I could get some Wi-Fi to join my was that my first postcast? Yeah, it was the very first postcast I joined. So that was the beginning of an era right there.
If anyone listens,
was my music that loud?
It was pretty loud. But what I will say is if anyone's listening to the postcast for the first time today, they're like, what are these animals doing? Are these guys nuts?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to listen to a little bit there with the background audio, and I don't know who the other buddy there was, though.
He's in one.
He was coming in hard. So.
Not a Logan Brown fan at all. All right.
Say.
Hey, but that's how you break down a 4-1 loss. When you're in this stretch or you're playing so much hockey, got to keep things fresh. And we appreciate our boy, Sens Chirp, jumping on with us. Brandon Pillar is on a plane cross country, so his Ironman streak ends at 20 straight postcasts. Mine continues, not to brag, but the Sens are off until next Monday. Sens Chirp just quote tweeted and said, sorry about all the swears. What a guy. No, he is just having a great time. Like Stewie always says, and we love Stewie. Stewie's coming to a game with us later this year once the world becomes a little more normal, as we passed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and Stewie's our guy, and he missed the opener, right? He missed the opener because he got a job, so he couldn't come to Ottawa. So we got to take him to a game coming up later this year. But to get to tonight's game, the Ottawa Senators score first, and that was Nick Holden, who I tweeted out. I was like, man, does anyone deserve a goal more than Nick Holden? Like, this guy leads the team in shorthanded time on ice per game. He's completely responsible defensively, but he earned himself that tuck. Take us through what you saw in that one, Martian.
Yeah, and you really were eager to give that credit of that goal to Brady Tkachuk. But really good to see from Nick Holden for sure. Definitely a guy who deserves to get some accolades on the old score sheet here, because we know what he does for the group in the locker room, and I think the 1-year extension says a lot about that as well. They want to keep a guy like him around to keep the morale high, especially in the times like for games like these. You got a guy like Nick Holden in the room. It's hard not to keep a smile on your face. So Nicky Holden, we love him. The boys love him. I think that everybody kind of likes Nick Holden. So it's great to see.
I like when he's scoring goals as well. He had the one tonight. Now, when I'm just looking
he scored in his history. I believe his career high is like 11 goals or something.
Man, he had a 37-point season when he was with the Rangers back in the day. Yeah, 11 goals. He's a 2-time 10-goal scorer. His rookie year, he put up 10 tucks and 25 points.
Hey, that's
Colorado Avalanche.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Not at all. But now he's just more of a shutdown guy. His second goal, 5th point of the season in what was his 34th game now with Ottawa. But I love Branny. Tonight was not Eric Brandstrom's best game.
No, it was a bit of a tough one for him out there tonight. He looked a little bit lost out there, maybe not sure what to do in certain situations. There was a few different goals against where Brandstrom was kind of caught in no man's land. I don't know if there's anyone out there who plays tennis, but if you're a tennis player and you're kind of caught in that, between being up at the net and being in the backcourt, stopping, trying to. And
then you just get the wobbly knees, eh? Then you're just which way do I go?
You basically put it anywhere and you're buckled. So that's kind of where Brandstrom was finding himself a bit tonight in the defensive zone. It's not his best night, but I mean, still to be expected. Just because he had, he strung together 4 or 5 games in a row there where he looked really good, doesn't mean that we can expect him to do that every single night. And I want to preface that too, it could happen with a guy like, I hate to say it, but Matt Murray's been playing incredible too, but he could put up a stinker here sometime soon, and we should be ready for that to happen, because it's really hard to expect a guy to maintain that caliber of play over a period of time, and especially for a guy like Brandstrom, who is the age he is, and he's still trying to figure out the league. So kind of a bit of slack on this one, especially too on the back-to-back night. COVID.
Yeah, true. This one kind of gives me the January 1st versus Toronto vibes. To me, no, not worried about this one. Just move on. Hope to get some bodies back. I don't know what's going on with Josh Norris, though. The update that the Ottawa Sun reporter gave at second intermission didn't seem too promising. Sounded like he saw what happened to Shane Pinto and was like, maybe I want to hear a second opinion on my shoulder.
Yeah, I wonder what side he's on there, whether he thinks that he doesn't need surgery or he thinks that maybe he does need the surgery. But either way, it's not a good sign that, that was the update that we got. We still don't really know where he's going to be at, or we're not going to really know a timeline for him anytime soon. It doesn't sound like.
But, next Monday. Next Monday, they think, hopefully when everyone gets back. So during the All-Star break, he will go, I'm assuming Michigan is where he's from, where he played well. What we did learn tonight, though, is it is the same shoulder that he got surgery on when he got hurt at the World Juniors. So that's not great news right off the bat. So now that is 4 players in the organization with shoulder injuries. 4. Tyler Boucher in the OHL, Pinto, White, and now Josh Norris. All centers except for the guy who's in the OHL. So it's just a tough balance, man. This team's got plenty of injuries. You got to hope that some guys, Joe Bell saying, like, it sounds at least like Josh Norris wants the surgery, and the team's like, no, you're fine. Just give it a week.
Let's just rehab
What's
this.
What's the point?
Yeah, and the way that Timmy's playing right now, and with White kind of on the horizon with coming back, and I think your glass is empty, Ross.
I know Stewie wants you to take a pinky up step, but I got nothing left, man. The bottle's empty. Best part of tonight's game with the full rack of ribs I crushed from Joey midway through.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Sense Chirp was at the Senate, great establishment in Ottawa. He says a new one at Wellington. I wonder if he flew in on a helicopter, because I don't know if you're walking up and down Wellington these days.
Wellington, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I haven't made it out to that new Senate yet, but I definitely plan to here in the near future if things clear up downtown anytime soon, which I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just jump right in the mix and just wade through the slop.
Exactly. Wade through the swamp. No question about that. So now the Ottawa Senators, they've got some time off, but after that, it's going to be fast and furious. Like, people were replying. I said, this is a team that looks like they're playing their 9th game in 14 days. Well, people are saying, like, hey, they better get used to it, because they're going to have to do this time and time again here. But 3 back-to-backs in the last 14 days. Like, that's a lot to ask of anybody, right? And then you lose Drake Batherson in the first game of this 9-game stretch. Like, there's just a lot of things that haven't really gone their way, but the fact that there are some moments that fans can clamp onto, like the Timmy overtime goal. You've got, I'm pulling up the game log here, and what was another moment? Well, the Timmy second game winner he had against Columbus, that was an absolute beauty. They get the 5-0 beatdown, even though you have that game. And sorry, it was the wrong Buffalo game in that stretch. They did play them twice. They lost the first one, but there's just been a lot of good efforts here. So the stinker tonight, whatever.
Yeah, we'll let them catch a pass on this one here. I honestly think that, a couple tweaks to the lineup tonight weren't maybe the choice that I would have made if I was the head coach. And I have zero experience as a head coach, but the reasoning about getting Mete into the lineup tonight when, he said, I want to get, Victor Mete into a game. Well, he only played 2 games ago already. So, like, you don't desperately need him to get into a game that badly, do you? I think having, like, a stable person like, Lassie Thompson in there as opposed to Victor Mete makes a lot more sense. He's a little bigger. He's a little stronger. He's faster. He can move the puck better. I think he's better in every facet. So it really doesn't make any sense to me to have Mete in there over Lassie or even JBD too. And then the goaltending, and then the goaltending thing too. To me, I know that it's a back-to-back, but Murray didn't play against the Ducks at 12:30 in the afternoon on Saturday, and I get the reasoning behind that because he doesn't want to screw with the routine. Me and Pilsy both said it on the Postcast and on your podcast today.
Yeah.
And then they go out and they decide to go with Forsberg on the second half of the back-to-back when Matt Murray's not going to have to play again until Monday next week. So what are we resting him for here? Is he going to be that tired on the back-to-back? I know the rest of the team
looked dejected on the bench. I saw him, I think it was after the 3rd or 4th goal against, and it's like...
Well, probably because he knew he could have stopped some of those.
Yeah. Well, let's touch on these because we mentioned you gave a tennis reference. I'll give a pinball reference because he made a decent save. I think it was the 3rd goal, second goal. The game-winning goal. Why does he lift his pad? What are you doing there? I mean,
you're the goalie. You tell me. I don't know. Is he making some sort of adjustment? But
the scene in Forgetting Sarah Marshall where he's doing the surf lessons with Paul Rudd, and he's like, "Do less. You're doing too much. Do less." You need to yell that at Forsberg.
That's the perfect way to describe it because he was in position. His pads were both down, and then right as that weak little I don't even know if it was a backhand or just a little flimsy shot came through. That right pad went up, and the puck went right under it. So. He could have just stayed still and it would have stopped it.
Yeah, 100%. What can you do, man? It's just one of those games, man. And we're just trying to have some fun.
That's why we're here all the we'll vent together.
Yeah, 100%. Chirp's messaging me now. He's completely in one. What a beauty.
Oh yeah, those guys are going hard. I love
what a game. What a game. Anybody have any questions in the chat? Let us know. We'll stick around for a couple more minutes, answer those, and then we'll take you into the All-Star break with a guest announcement coming up on Friday's Locked On Senators. We've got Tim Stützle, Jake Sanderson, Ridley Gregg, Tyler Boucher. We have our 5th first-round pick of the Ottawa Senators coming up on Friday's Locked On Senators. So we're just waiting if anyone has any questions on the chat. I'll run through the box score, the scoring summary for anybody. If you're just on your way to work, if you're listening to this on a Wednesday morning, remember the postcast available live after each and every game on YouTube. We appreciate everyone who subscribes to the channel there, working our way up to 1,500. And the Locked On Senators podcast comes out Monday through Friday, free and available on your favorite podcast platform. And yes, on YouTube as well. The Senators lose 4-1 on the road to the New York Islanders. Nick Holden, the lone goal scorer, assist by Tyler Ennis and Brady Tkachuk. That was less than 2 minutes into this game, and it's the only offense the Senators saw. Anthony Beauvillier, Oliver Wahlstrom, Matthew Barzal, and then Adam Pelech, the goal scorers for the New York Islanders. Yes, we will give a couple standouts.
The chat is killing me right now. They're funny as hell right now.
Oh, they're awesome. Hey, here, let's go with Joe Bell first, and then we'll do our standouts, and then we'll get out of here.
From yesterday could have stopped that one, boys.
Oh, that's good, Dustin. Way to go, buddy. And we took care of her. You won't be bothered by her again. Who's your favorite Ottawa Senator all time? And I'm going to take Alfredson off the table because that's just an easy one.
So for me? Oh man, this is a really hard question for me.
Yeah, talk about being put on the spot.
I have an answer that I will never change, and the answer is Zdeno Chara.
Yes,
and it's funny because he's playing tonight against the Senators for the Islanders.
Somebody wrote Colin Greening in the chat.
Yeah, fastest Senator alive. No, but Zdeno Chara for me as a child, like when I was watching him, I was like 11 and 12 years old watching Zdeno Chara, and he was just a monster. My father had season tickets when I was growing up, and we used to sneak down for warmups. And when I was down there as a little guy, Zdeno Chara was skating around in the warmups, and he was just so friggin' big. It was like impossible not to fall in love with a guy like that. And I remember when he first got traded, the guys from TSN 1200 couldn't even pronounce his name properly. They were calling him Chara or Chara or like, how do we say this? And it was awesome to see him play for the Sens for, I think it was like 4 years or 5 years.
299 games played.
Yeah, man, he was my favorite player the whole time. He was just that was his coming of age. You get to see this really big guy who's not a great skater, but he physically dominates, has this huge hard shot. As a young kid, like that's the guy I was definitely the most like attracted to as a player, that I was like, I love this guy. I love watching him just smoke people. I love him, taking that over 100 mile per hour slap shot. Every game. So definitely the answer for me is easy. It's Zdeno Chara.
Awesome. I like that answer a lot. Like one of my best friends growing up, neighbor across the street, was the Slovakian ambassador's son. Right off of Burt Street, if anybody.
Wait, I didn't even mention the fight with McCabe. I saw Graham Scott in the comments here. That was probably, that was one of the highlights for sure.
He also, Rightus Evanas, I think probably mixing up the pronunciation, LA Kings tough guy back in the day. Chara broke his orbital bone in a fight as well. For me, and people are already putting in the chat, but it's Ray Emery for me. My parents named their dog after him, Emmy. Emmy the Shih Tzu was named after Ray Emery. But yeah, he was just
we didn't even. I forgot to mention too the fight series with Peter Worrell and Zdeno.
Yes.
Does anyone remember that?
Dude, they fought twice in one game.
I was there. It was awesome.
That's unreal.
That right there, two guys who were like 6'8" and 6'9", chucking knocks. Like,
man, we'll see if anyone in the chat gets this reference. But when I was a kid growing up, like there was no national anthem. I was playing Ottawa Sting. Shout out to Sting. But I used to go in my net when everybody was like getting ready from warm up. You know how Emery during the national anthem he'd go right in his net. Bent over. I used to do that. I thought I was Ray Emery.
Oh, yeah. You're awesome. So cool.
So, so cool, dude. So cool. So, yeah, Ray Emery would be my answer. Yours, Zdeno Chara. Two very solid answers. Chara would be easily on my Mount Rushmore. We'll do a Mount Rushmore. That seems like a good off-season thing. Top Mount Rushmore of favorite Senators. Stewie putting in Joe Corvo in the mix. Jesus. Whoa. Hopefully Joe Corvo 1.0, because 2.0 was a tough look when he came back at the end of his career. All right, so a couple standouts here in tonight's 4-1 loss. I'll let you take the first one because it's slim pickings.
Yeah, slim pickings tonight for sure. I'm gonna go with Alex Formenton. I thought that he was probably the one senator who you could say that his legs weren't affected by, and maybe they were. He's just still faster than everybody.
Yeah.
So I mean, 2 breakaways. He was creating chances all over the ice. He was being a big bitch out there, like slashing people and getting under the skin as usual.
Yeah.
So I love to see that. I love to see that from Formenton. He's doing his regular thing, and he seemed to be the one guy who maybe wasn't affected by the back-to-back. And he really, he seems to get Stützle going a lot. Like he kind of, I don't know, what kind. I would be very interested to see the relationship between those two on the bench and on the the way they communicate with each other, because they seem like kind of different personalities in a way. Formenton's kind of like that lower pedigree kind of guy, and then Stützle's like the silver spoon guy who likes hanging out with all the other silver spoon guys. So I don't know what's going on there, but I would love to see how they interact. And I think Formenton's a good influence on him in the way that he gets him kind of involved into the forecheck and the speed of the game. The chemistry between them is really coming together. So I like Alex Formenton's game tonight. You're muted, Ross.
Nice. Everyone in your chat, put in your favorite senator all time. I want to see some more answers. We got Havlat coming across. That's a great choice. Kevin saying Sergei Gonchar as well. So, with that being said, my Sen Central standout tonight. A lot of people in the chat want me to give it to Mark Kaslick, a guest on this show. I thought he was awesome. 80% in the faceoffs. Game high 6 hits for him. So that's impressive. Only played 10 minutes and 7 seconds. But I'm going to go with Brady. I feel like this guy is playing hurt, and he's still going out there and giving it his all. Like over 19 minutes, 4 hits in this one, 2 shots on goal. And for all the talk about now it's a 14-game goalless streak. I think I said 14 last game. It was 13. Now it's 14. Even though I guaranteed him scoring tonight, and he almost got a piece of that Nick Holden shot. But what really stood out to me from Brady Tkachuk's streak or lack thereof, drought, is he still has 9 assists in his last 14 games. So he's got his B game. This is what Noodles always says on TSN. And when we were working together, he'd always say, Jeff O'Neill as well, when you don't have your A game, what else are you going to bring to the table? And clearly he's not being able to put the puck in the back of the net right now, but he's making up for that with great playmaking. Let's hope that this week
playmaking and physicality.
Yep.
Holy shit. He's
100%.
flushing guys.
100%. All right, classic. We go long. Brutal game tonight. 4-1 loss on the road. Second half of back-to-back. Guys, Jacob Bernard Docker is coming on the show on Friday. We will complete the Nodak Sens quadrant with Jacob Bernard Docker, JBD. We got him on Thursday afternoon, but we'll get Thursday's episode out first, and then we'll get him in on Friday's Locked On Senators. Let's get some Go Sens goes. We go into a week hiatus of the postcast, but that won't stop the Locked On Senators train from chugging along. We'll be here on Thursday and Friday, and then back all next week on the Locked On Senators podcast. For Lalim's Martian, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the postcast following a tough one, a 4-1 loss on the road in Long Island. And now it's time to take a deep breath, Sens fans. Enjoy the night. We'll talk tomorrow on the Locked On